So, my story. Well, it started at the age of 9, following my dad's passing away in front of my eyes. I was immediately put into therapy for several years afterwards. I was missing a lot of time at primary school, not wanting to be there, continuing to be counselled. I saw several therapists during that time, and then when I moved to secondary school, after initially making a lot of friends, I was still struggling. It resulted in me losing my social life because I couldn't go out. I was having anxiety-based tummy struggles, and I couldn't go out without using a toilet 15 times and feeling judged, and it really meant that I couldn't socially engage with others. I became very panicked, and eventually I became basically agoraphobic. I was getting heavier, I was down on life, unable to flip that emotional switch, feeling worse, losing friends, saying no to events, and eventually people just stopped asking, which wasn't their fault. It was completely to do with me and my struggling. Prior to being 15, my grandmother then unfortunately passed away, which had a massive, substantial effect on me as we were very, very close. At 15, I was then placed under the CAMS NHS unit, which is the Child Adolescent Mental Health Service. And by 16, having fought for a clinical diagnosis, I was diagnosed with anxiety attacks, panic attacks, social anxiety disorder, depression, and post-traumatic stress. Eventually, it resulted in me starting on my first antidepressant, which was a tablet called fluoxetine. However, during that time, I was flunking my GCSEs, I didn't want to be at school, and I just didn't care about it. I just wanted to be at home and in bed. Most days, I was breaking down for hours on end. I wasn't knowing why. I was feeling better off dead, so I began self-harming. Nothing terrible, just kind of minor scratches of frustration following periods of crying and being unable to talk and sitting in bed for 2 to 3 hours. There was initial improvement on the tablet, however, but it wasn't enough, so by 18, having flunked my GCSEs and beginning to flunk my A-levels at this point compared to how well I should have done, or could have done rather, it was decided I should change my tablet to one called sertraline, which was much, much stronger, and it did help mildly over a 2-year spell, which saw me miss A-level grades that were required for university. And in that time, I took a gap year, during which I was then diagnosed with epilepsy following 2 seizures, which left me feeling very unconfident. The diagnosis was a shock, mainly because my dad had had it, and things were getting worse for me. I was getting heavier, it became a feeling of why me? I saw my brother, my other family members, they were all feeling all right, and it just really seemed to be me that was struggling, so weight continued to pile on. My lack of social life and interaction meant it was really just me. It became a very cold, lonely place with all 4 walls kind of crashing in on me. Eventually, I reached NTU, 2 hours away from home, which was a big commitment at 19 years old, given the state of my mental health prior. And initially it went very well. The sertraline was helping, but I kind of crashed back down to earth and ended up in the second term taking 6 weeks off poorly at home to receive more treatment and kind of more therapy. But that didn't actually help because they placed me into group CBT with other adults, and my problems weren't their problems, and I couldn't relate to them who were having unfortunate issues of anxiety and panic over, say, their children, rather than giving me the one-to-one therapy, which I knew would be perfect for me and was what had worked for me in the past, even though it hadn't been that successful. By some miracle, I got myself back to uni for the 3rd term and the end of 2nd term and finished the year with a 2-1, but by this point I was 19 stone heavy. I was feeling the pain of life. I was self-harming almost daily, and unfortunately I tried to do myself some serious damage in my room. I actually took a paracord and tied it and put it around my neck. However, I was never really, thankfully, ever, despite trying, my heart wasn't set in it, and I was never really going to do myself much damage, thank God. Time was passing, but there were no improvements, so I tried to come off my antidepressants as my mind felt clogged. However, doctors decided no, I couldn't do that, so rather than take the sertraline, they made me go cold turkey and decided to make me take citalopram. Unfortunately, that did not go well. I made it one night on citalopram, and having gone cold turkey, funnily enough, it was the night of Donald Trump's election in July 2016. At 20 years old, I spent the night in bed next to my mother. I was in tears, I was on the phone to 111 trying to find out what to do, where to go, and initially a few days after that and going cold turkey, doctors told me, do what you got to do. So I went cold turkey on all medicines, including my epilepsy tablet for a very short period, which I'm now back on. But I just couldn't cope, and something needed to change. And so for me, that started with worming my way off of the tablets, which I would not advise to anyone. It was the toughest, most ridiculous, ludicrous, dangerous thing I could have done. And I went back for second year. Well, I say I went back, I tried. I made it 4 days between September 2016 and January 2017 until I actually pulled out and decided I would transfer home for September 2017 into year 2 at the University of Hertfordshire. I decided the first step to my recovery, other than coming off the medicine, would be to get to the gym and start dropping weight and pick up some confidence. I was 19 stone 2 pounds in January 2017, and by August 2018 I was down to 10 stone 7. And now I've put on a bit of weight, but I'm attempting to lose it again, following doctor's advice. Socially, I'm still awkward, I still struggle. I'm by no means perfect, but I'm trying, and that's what's important. I managed to get out and spark a change by going to the gym, which also helped me with getting out in general and the agoraphobia that I was experiencing. It was kind of 2 birds, 1 stone. Sorry to be insensitive with that phrase. But from there, I contacted people. I was still struggling to see them, but the key was I was opening up and I was speaking to them. It was really, really, really important that I was at least trying. And, you know, sometimes I got there, sometimes I failed miserably and had to leave, to be totally honest. But I was determined. I was getting back into the swing of life and into university, whilst at home and seeing a new counsellor 1-to-1. I was getting better and better up until today, you know. I still have moments of stress. I still, unfortunately, have the scars on my wrist. But, you know, I felt that if anything would come from this, I would do it for myself. Or if not for myself, for my mum, for my dad's memory, for my brother, for my grandma's memory, and for my grandpa. I felt that there was so much I could contribute positively. I just had to be the one to spark that change. And it's not always easy. But in the next video, I'm going to talk about what I've learned from my story. But as tough as this is, I feel like it's important to put it out there so that people can understand that they're not alone and that we all do go through it. So I hope that this can help someone, and maybe they can come and speak up and say, this is what I have, and hopefully we can incite some positive change in them as well. So thanks for being here, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.